Dear life warriors, living and surviving are two different things. Today's special guest is Nikki Payne. She is a motivational speaker, entrepreneur, mental health and domestic violence awareness advocate. Get ready to learn how to find peace and purpose after loss.
Dear life warriors, it's me, Shar, your favorite corporate life coach. And today I have a very, very special guest. Her name is Nikki Payne. She is a motivational speaker, an entrepreneur. She's also a mental health and domestic violence advocate, which you know we're all about that on the show, wellness. She's on a mission to teach us how to obtain wellness from the inside out. And I'm so excited, Nikki. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here. Sorry, I'm a little stuffy today.
That's okay. We have these days. And actually, my previous interview, which I haven't even aired that one yet, is with my functional doctor. We talk all about your immune health and how to, I haven't had a cold in like 7 years. So,
Okay.
I will give you some tips on that on the sideline, but she's amazing. So I can't wait to share her episode with the world. But in any event, you're here. I'm so excited to just hear your story because it's not, your story is a little tragic and you seem to be like making it through the world. You went through a horrible, tragic experience. Was it 4 years ago?
No, it was 2007.
Oh, 2007. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so you lost both your kids and your husband.
Yeah. So I was married. My husband was a good man. He didn't beat me.
Right.
No real abuse or anything like that. He had a mental episode, and within about 4 hours, he had shot and killed my son, shot and killed my daughter. He committed suicide, and he tried to shoot me, but the gun jammed. So I'm the only one that made it out.
So you were home when this happened?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So when you say mental episode, was he diagnosed with something that you knew of or no?
No, nothing. What happened is when they, after the event, when they had the autopsy, they tested him for drugs, for alcohol. He had nothing in his system. So they were asking me, what happened? Yeah. And I was telling them that he was talking to himself. And so they asked me, was he answering himself? Was he talking in third person? Like, what was he doing? He didn't have any tumors. So they went back and unsealed his childhood records and things. And then they were looking and they said, he probably had bipolarism or some mental illness, and no one diagnosed him. Yeah.
Wow.
And so, right.
Wow.
So for me, it was now that I'm learning and I'm researching about mental health, now I can see some of the signs. See, I always thought that he was passionate. Like when he gets mad, like, oh, he's really passionate about something.
Right.
But I didn't know about the extreme highs and the extreme lows. Yeah.
I'm just learning. So I have a really good friend of mine, I just aired her episode today. She very successful, running her own business. She's an attorney, she's a TEDx speaker, and she was recently diagnosed with bipolar last year. So so she was explaining her highs and her lows. And it was like, she's like, I thought, just like you said, I was extremely passionate about whatever, not recognizing and realizing she actually had a mental illness. So she kind of dropped that 2 weeks ago on LinkedIn. She's very heavy on the LinkedIn profile, and she shared that with the audience. And that thing went like, because you see, people and you don't really understand or know what they're going through, because she's someone that has always kept it together on the surface. So how long were you married before this happened?
Almost a year, but we had been together maybe 3 years. My son was 7, but my son was not his.
Okay.
My daughter was 2. So we weren't married that long.
Right. But you were you were together for at least 3. And there was no signs or anything leading up to that episode that you might have said, wait a minute, something's a little off. Nothing at all.
Well, I'll tell you this. So when I notice, like when something didn't feel right, like not that I know that, this is a red flag, like something in my gut would be like, wait a minute, something's wrong. Yeah. And so I would ask my mom and she'd be like, everything's okay. I'd ask my aunt, oh, everything's okay. But what I realized is that now what I'm realizing is that I was asking people that was in the same situation that I was. So my husband was like my stepdad and my husband was like my uncle. So not saying that they had mental illness, because I seen the way that they acted. When my husband did it and I'm asking my mom, she says that's normal because that's her normal.
Right.
Right. So I never stepped outside of my family or my community to ask another question, because maybe if they had podcasts back then, maybe if people talked about it back then, I would know that something's wrong. So, and my grandmama, anything that happened is like, don't leave the house. Black people don't go to therapists. He all right. He just a little touched, but we never said mental. Yeah, he's a little touched.
Medicine, you'll be all good. Oh, right. Wow. So, and that's very interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because it is about our norm. We are used to, I have this saying, and I think I stole it actually from TD Jakes. Sorry, TD. Where he talks about it's your childhood experiences that we actually use to navigate our adult life. And you witnessing and watching and you were grown up into that type of environment. For you, that became your norm. And right. So and of course, you're right. We never look outside our family or immediate circle to say, is this normal? What I'm experiencing. Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, I'm saying what we're experiencing sometimes. And I don't know, why do you think that is that we don't do that? We don't go outside the family circle or anyone to ask advice or seek advice or even get therapy, like you said?
Well, my number one reason was my grandmama. Nothing leaves outside the house. You're not supposed to go in another community. You're not supposed to tell your neighbors. You can tell your family, but if your family is in the same boat that you're in, then they're not going to help you. But I know the reason why. I know the exact reason why I always ended up with guys that either treated me bad or I ended up with my husband. It's because of my kindergarten teacher. My kindergarten teacher, I was playing on the playground. This boy pushed me down. He would always push me down. And I was crying and I told her, I said, why is he so mean to me? And she said, oh, that's because he likes you. Guys are always mean to you when they like you.
Oh.
So that was my norm. Oh, if you treat me bad, oh, you must like me. If you treat me nice, oh, you're not interested in me. Now, I'm sure she didn't mean it like that.
Right.
But if you tell a child that, then that's my normal. And so when I go home and my stepdad is arguing at my mom, oh, he loves her. So if my husband is having an episode and he just happens to holler at me, oh, he loves me.
I think you just solved my issue. How many times have we heard that? I have as a child. You're right. Boys are mean to you because they like you. You are absolutely right. And I too ended up in domestic violence situation where I never thought that would have been my norm. I've experienced that. And throughout my history of my life, I kept choosing guys that I knew, number one, was not going to, it wasn't going to go anywhere. This is someone I can't be committed to. Where the struggle was real in the relationship. And that was my norm for a very, very long time. But I'm glad you dug deep. You went back to kindergarten. You went really back to your childhood. What made you do that?
Just reflecting, sometimes I am all about accountability. Yeah. So I get with people or this happens to me, but what is the common denominator? I'm the common denominator because I chose the same type of people. Yeah. So if I'm the common denominator, where did it stem from? And it just made me reflect all the way down to kindergarten. Because I was like, well, I thought that I said, well, why would I even think that if someone's mean to you? And then I started remembering kindergarten. Yeah. And so that's what made me do it.
Wow. And then you also received confirmation from watching your mom, your aunt, your family go through that. That was sort of like the confirmation. Oh, yeah, that's correct. If they are not nice to you, oh, they love you.
Mm-hmm.
That's some deep stuff. Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your process like? How did you transform your mindset to where it is now? Because for someone that has gone through what you've gone through, girl.
Well, I've been in a mental institute. I've lost my house for foreclosure. So one thing about it, when I was with my husband had his own business, right?
Yeah.
He had money, and I was one of those people where I work and that's my money. I'm going to buy stuff. And then when he died, the money died. He told me exactly what to do. I just wasn't listening. And so when he passed away, here come the liens on the house. Here comes everything. So I'm punning my car title and I'm doing everything. And then I got hooked on prescription drugs and I'm going through that thing. But okay, you can't feel sorry for me. So one day it was 2011. It was January 2011, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 4 years after the kids passed. And so my mom called me. And so my mom was like, oh, I want you to come see me. I just want to hold you. But when I was going through my process, I didn't want to be around people. And I didn't want to be around people that were going to hold me accountable for anything. Right. Yeah. So I'm out here, I'm drugged up and whatever. And so my mom called me. I was like, oh, I'll go over there tomorrow. She's like, no, I need you to come today. And I was like, oh, I'll go tomorrow because I didn't want her to see me like that. I get to the house the next day. I walk in the house. It's like, hey, Mom, you want a Coca-Cola? And she didn't answer. So I got the Coca-Cola. I went in the back, but she doesn't talk to you if she's mad at you. So I go in the back and I sit down and I'm like, oh, so you're not going to say anything. She was dead. Yeah, she was dead. My mama was dead. And I'm sitting here and I'm not even crying, but I'm looking and I'm like, if you don't get yourself together, you're going to end up like this. It's like you're in this state, you drugged out. You don't want to even think about what you've been through. And in that moment, I was so selfish that my mom's dying wish was for me to come see her. And I couldn't do it. And so I believe that my mom died to save me. Because if someone would have called me and said, your mom died, I'd have got high. If I'd have found out later, I'd have got high. But being there.
Yeah, well, you found her. You walked in and found her.
Mm-hmm. And I talked to her before I even realized what was happening. I was just talking to her. And like it did something for me. Sometimes I guess you just need a slap in the face.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. They were sending me to therapy. I was just going to therapy to get the medicine. Because what happened with my children, I could have used that as an excuse for the rest of my life. Oh, I don't want to do nothing. Oh, her kids passed. Just give her some pills. And so I figured out that as long as I used the kids, I could get whatever I wanted. And then, but seeing my mom there, it's like, girl, this could be you.
You knew she was going? You think that's why she called you?
I think she did. When I found her, she had my son's Spider-Man doll in the bed with her and my daughter's Dora doll. Oh. Like she knew, like she felt it. Like she just knew.
Yeah.
And it was like, I kind of popped out of it. See, I had tried to go to church and the church, people at church were so mean to me. They were so mean to me.
Mean? The church?
The church people were so mean to me. I love God. I'm not against church, but those church people, when I was going, so I have a lot of tattoos. But before my kids passed,
they're just hidden.
Oh, so I had tattoos before my children passed, but now I had visible tattoos, right? And I was going to church and they would look at me like I'm gonna steal the tithe money. Oh. And they would, because my clothes wasn't right. And I hadn't taken a bath and I had been on drugs and I had all these tattoos and they were mean to me. And then one day I was talking to my sister and she said, have you ever heard of people that cut themselves? I said, you mean them crazy people? She said, Nikki, she said, you're a cutter. I said, I'm not a cutter. She said, every time it's one of your kids' birthday or the anniversary of their death, you get a tattoo, Nikki. And you want to bleed and you want to hurt.
Aww.
And so now when I see people with tattoos or they cut their hair off, like everything I went through, now my question is, what's the cause? But when I was going to church like that, they were looking at me like something's wrong. And maybe it was the particular churches that I was going to. But I found more love in the street than I found in the church. So, but I'm not against church. It was just, it made me look at, it made me look at, you know, I used to see people with tattoos all over their face. I'm like, why do they do that? And then look at me.
Right.
I just didn't go on my face. So now I look at people differently.
Yeah.
And I understand. I don't even remember what your question was.
No, you answered it. And I love that you said that you look at people differently and with no judgment, because I think God has a way, which I learned in my life, God has a way of bringing someone else's experience to your life so you could understand. And because the domestic violence situation, I used to have a friend at the time that was going through that. And I never understood why she couldn't leave. I was like, just leave him. Just leave, you know, but it's because you really care about your friend. You don't want to see them go through that. And I was so gung-ho about you stupid, you know, why are you staying? Why are you this? Fast forward to 3 years later, her and I are we're no longer friends. I now found myself in a domestic violence situation where I couldn't leave. And now I understood what she was going through. So that's why now, you know, I tell people, be careful what you think of others or how you look at other situations, because there will be a time where the role will flip and you're going to have to understand what that person was going through. So I get real, like, very, you know, so much, I will not be judging any situation, because there's a root to the problem. There's a root cause. And that's what you got to look at. What's causing that person to react the way they're reacting, to do what they're doing, and have some empathy. If you don't have any empathy for, you know, you need empathy to really understand and be able to look from the inside at other people's situation. If you don't have that for yourself, and empathy you could only get by being self-aware. You got to have your own self-awareness.
I agree. You're right.
So I'm really like, for you to have gone through all of that, being also in a mental institution, being hooked on prescription drugs, and now pulling yourself out. And I love how you reframe. You're reframing, you know, all your situations. You're turning it into something positive, and you're connecting the dots. Like, you even connected your mom to the fact that it was to save you. That's powerful. Yeah. That is powerful. And that's what people don't do. They don't do that. They don't connect and don't reframe, and they don't see how that situation was there to pull them up or pull them out or do something for them in their lives.
Right. And I'm still connecting the dots. You know, I always tell people what happened to my children. Yeah. That's not my story. The rebuild is my story.
Yeah.
So if I'm going from 1 to 10, right now I'm at a very strong 8. A very strong 8. And it's been since 2007.
Yeah.
So I just want people to know it's been this many years and I'm at an 8. If you're in year 1 or you're in year 2 and you're at a 2, it's okay. Eventually you can get to an 8. I know I'm going to get to a 10, but it's the process. The process from 1 to 8 is what is meant to be seen.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think I was meant to be on this podcast when I was a 10. I think 8 is when I was supposed to be on here. Because 3, I would have cried the whole time. 10, I would have said it so fast, you'd have been like, I don't even believe her.
Right.
But 8 is hope, but I still got a ways to go.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm still connecting all kind of dots.
Wow. And life is just that. It is a continuous connection of dots. You'll probably be doing that for the rest of your life. Because there's going to be new levels to your life. And you, again, when you get to a new level, this is what I've learned every time I've gotten to a new level, I'm still using an experience from way back level 1, and I could be on level 20. And I'm still pulling from level 1 because I'm like, oh, that's why that happened. It's going to be a continuous connection, which is great, though. Once you recognize that that's what you're doing and that's what is needed, you are going to be at a 10 and you're going to be flowing through life every single day. Like I see you flowing now, like you sitting here talking to me and being able to discuss the story. And thank you so much for sharing that, because I think you're going to help so many people with that story.
But I also want to tell people today, I'm an 8. Thanksgiving is coming and Christmas is coming. Usually I'm back to a 5.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes I'll go up and then I'll go back down. But I want people to know that that's I don't want to say that's everybody's normal, but if it happens, you're not by yourself.
Right.
You know, I'll get to an 8 and sometimes I slide back. But what I do to keep myself from sliding back is I set boundaries for myself in my personal life, in my business life, even with speaking. So I get seasonal depression. So I'm totally sane from January to the beginning of November. If you see me sometime in November or December, you would think I had a mental illness because I'm so depressed sometimes and because I'm so down.
Yeah.
And I do believe that during those times, I should seek therapy, but I have to find a therapist for me.
Yes.
During those times. And so I've said that because, you know, people are like, oh, you're so strong. You're on this podcast. But that's because that's today.
That's today.
But that's today. Yeah.
But you know, sometimes at a time.
Right. Like in November, December, one of the hardest things for me to do sometimes is get my feet on the ground in the morning. You know, some people will think, oh, it's going to work. Oh, it's today is going to be a good day. So with me, I talk to God every day. Like he's my homework. Like I talk to God like I follow him on Instagram. You know, like, hey, homie, like he on my caption, God.
So first of all, I'm Jamaican. I'm Jamaican, right? Sometimes my God speaks patois.
I understand.
In patois to me, I'd be like, what are you talking about, God?
Right.
It's your relationship. And it's so important. Your relationship with God, I'm getting teary-eyed. Your relationship with God is so important because, and I'm so happy that you said that, because people often ask me, like, who fills you up? You know, you're trying to fill, because I'm a life coach as well. And they're like, you know, you fill everybody else up, but who fills your cup? And I'm like, God. I said, you don't understand. Like before every session, I used to tell, when I was doing one-on-one coaching, I used to tell them, when I accept you as a client, it's me and God in it. But I can't do back-to-back, you know, sessions with people simply because I have to break from that individual I just spoke to. And I have to go back to God, and I got to have him fill my soul up again before I could even come back to the table and speak to anyone else. It's your relationship with him. It's your walk with him. I have to walk with him daily. Daily.
And some days I'll go from God, get me through the day. Then it's God, get me to 12 o'clock. God, it's 10 o'clock. I need to get to 10:05. God, just get me to 10:01. Yes. God, it's 10 o'clock. I need you. It's like that sometimes.
It is.
You know? Yeah.
And right about that seasonal stuff. I feel like every now and then. So for me, you know, my dad died before I was born. So
sorry.
So in August, his birthday, I get really, really depressed. And I don't know why. And the depression comes 2 days before his actual birthday, and it lasts all the way until his birthday is over. And then it happens again. So he died New Year's Eve, where he got hit by a drunk driver. And I get really depressed around the holidays, right after Christmas up until New Year's Eve, where I'm just sad.
And for me, sometimes I won't even recognize the date, but my body will get sick. I'll be like, oh my God, I'm getting sick and I'm getting tired and I just want to stay in the bed. And I remember I used to go, I was going to the doctor for something because I was sick. And the man basically asked me, like, is this mental? Because every year around this time, you come in here with these same complaints. You got headaches, you're tired, you're exhausted. And so my body knows before the date. And but now that I know that, now I know how to plan accordingly. So my children passed August 20th. My daughter passed August the 20th, and my husband. My son didn't die till after midnight. So his is the 21st. So now that I know how my body is, the week or so before, I make no plans. That's my boundary. I make no plans. So if I'm going through something, I'm going through it. And I know it's going to probably last to almost September. So now I know my pattern. But every now and then, out of the blue, it'll just come. But it's like my body knows it before I even look at the date.
Right. Well, shifting gears a little bit to your wonderful business. So now you are, I know you're on a mission to talk about wellness, promoting wellness and mental health and all that great stuff. But I think I read where you have a body sculpting business. Is that your main business? What do you want to talk about in reference to what is it that you're doing right now?
Well, I want to talk about two things. I do have a business. I was a body sculptor. Doing like reducing fat, tightening skin and stuff like that. Now I sell equipment to other people that do the same thing. But what I wanted to talk about specifically is, it just came to me, is that sometimes you go through things and it'll put you on a path. So people say, oh, you're a speaker, but I don't go around anymore and speak. Right. But I've had clients that would lay on my table and want fat reduced. And they've been told that they were ugly, or they were divorced, or you're fat and nobody will want you because you had all those kids and you got all that loose skin. And I'm sitting here and I'm talking to these people and they don't even know what happened to my kids, but I am either telling them the story third person, or I'm telling them that I can relate, or I understand, or it'll get better. And so I feel like what I went through led me to this business, to not to be a therapist, because I'm not a life coach, but to see people's self-esteem go up because their body changed. You know, sometimes I feel like, God, is this why I'm here? Like, is this why I'm here? Maybe I'm not supposed to be on a stage. Maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. I never wanted to do body sculpting. I just went to school to get the ovaries checked because I was getting put out of my house. I just needed the money. I just happened to learn every machine there. Right. And I just happened to be good at it. Right. But to your question, with my business, but it's basic non-invasive services. So laser lipo, which shrinks fat, lipocavitation, which liquefies fat, radio frequency, which forces your body to build collagen, so to make your skin tighter. Right. Vacuum machine to move fat. Most people want fat from like behind the back of their thighs to their butt. Just stuff like that. I don't work on the face, but on the body. But yeah. So that's what I do. Okay. And you're doing that. That's your full time. That's all you do now for your all day, every day. Well, now I haven't touched the clients since before COVID. I have lupus, so I try to stay away from people. Right. But so lately I've just been selling equipment to other people that do what I do. It's amazing how you can pivot. Like every day I'm working on people. And then when you pushed in a corner, you have to decide, okay, how do I pivot? I can give up or I can pivot. And so I pivoted. The problem with it is, which I probably shouldn't say, the problem is when I pivoted, and now this is what I love and what I do, it's making me not want to go back to doing services. Girl, that's the bad part. No, listen, it's not the bad part. It was set up that way. I too went through the same thing with COVID, because I used to be on site with clients because I do mainly corporate, and I used to, go consult with small to medium-sized businesses, and I would spend time with them on site. And I was running around like a crazy person before COVID. And then COVID happened and I had to pivot, where now I started to do everything virtually. But it's like, I could actually just focus on my trainings versus being, so I cut out
the business consultant piece because it was just too much work. And I'm like, I really don't want to do all this work. I'm good at it, but I really don't want to have to run around the way I do. Is there a smarter way to work? And so now I started focusing on my virtual trainings where I'm delivering my soft skills training virtually. Once I saw that happen, now the mindset is fast forward to now. I'm like, here's what I am going to do. I'm just going to create all of this online for people and leave it alone and step back. Cause I realized I don't want to work anymore.
Yeah. That's the problem I'm having. Yeah. But
problem. I mean, hey, they're still going to get the information. They're still going to, benefit from your knowledge. It's just that you don't want to actually physically do it. And that's okay too. Cause I know I don't. I'm enjoying this. My new baby is this podcast, My Dear Life Warriors. And I'm like, this is what I actually want to do.
And it's good to have money coming in that's not service based. So with body sculpting, I just happen to I'm good at marketing.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of show you got, but I used to sell weed. So I use my marketing skills. So I'm really good at marketing. So I could make money all the way around, right? All year round. I could make money all year round. But in the beginning, in the wintertime, I wouldn't get clients or less clients. And so not being able to service people physically would stop my money. But now that I do stuff that's not service based, I don't have to worry about that. So all I need is a product, an evergreen product or a physical product that can be done all year round. And now I get money all year.
Let me tell you something. I have noticed that I'm not going to call you your name, my friend. I got a friend that was a hustler back in the days. She too is like the best salesperson. Companies, y'all need to start hiring some hustlers because they are not. No, you guys are like amazing with the sales. You don't mind talking to somebody. You will be in their faces. And no, I believe you when you say that because I watch my friend and I'm like, you're doing the wrong job, right? Like she will walk in a room and work that room. She will work it. And I'm like, where did you get that skill from? Meanwhile, I'm the shy one. I'm like in the background, like I'm meant to be the visionary, not so much
right.
But no, seriously, that is a skill. Listen, hustling, what you did gave you something. And
now let me tell you another thing. I'm going back to my mom. I just thought about it. Oh. When I was telling you about, I was having all those problems in the house. My house was getting foreclosed on, and I would boil water to bathe. And I just thought about it. My mom was a crack addict. Everybody knows she was a crack addict. And sometimes our stuff would get cut off. And so I got used to cooking on hot plates. So I got used to boiling water. And so people would be like, oh, you were in poverty. But when it happened again, it was not new to me. God prepared me for that. When everybody was like, oh, y'all doing bad. This is what held me. And I used to be so mad at my mom. Why are you on crack? Why you act like that? Why do we not have lights? Why do we not have gas? And then I'm looking at myself in a house and can't afford to be here. And I'm like, Mama, thank you for teaching me how to cook on hot plates because I don't need the gas. I just need to keep this light bill on.
Right.
And so now I'm reflecting again, like all the hustle, like all of that ended up making Nikki. Like I always say, Nikki is like a puzzle. I got all these little pieces, but once you put all those pieces together, you'll see me. They're just not,
I love that.
They're not all glamorous pieces. They're not all big pieces. There's a lot of crumbled up pieces, but eventually you'll see Nikki in there somewhere.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my God.
Thank you.
With that being said, my life warriors, I think we are all motivated today. I even got some motivation in all of this. And I do see how you were able to find purpose again in your loss. I'm like, your story is amazing. It's just brilliant. Is there anything you want to leave us with?
I'll say this. First of all, if you wash your face and you apply products, do it in an upward manner, not you. Do it in an upward manner.
Tell me, girl, tell me.
Okay. And the reason why I say that, I know you wanted something inspirational, but listen.
No.
I do. When I was doing I would do radio frequency on people's face, the neck and the chin. A lot of time, if it's not age, if it's not, they eat a lot of sugar, rapid weight loss, anything like that, it's because when they put their products on, they're doing this. And so you're pulling your skin down and you're going to make me rich. Okay. This way, like you want to go upward. Like if you put on products, you want to go up. Don't go down. Now, motivational wise. Yeah. So, but
thank you, because I'm trying to wear like my little hot turtleneck. So my age. Oh yeah, you look fine. I'm aging.
Oh yeah, you're fine. I was looking like the Crypt Keeper, but I'm getting it back right.
Well, first of all, are you wearing makeup right now? You're not, right?
No, I'm sick. No.
But I'm saying your skin looks amazing. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, like come on now. Like seriously. It looks great. Thanks. I believe you. I'm gonna start going up. And you're gonna tell me any product recommendations when I get off when we get
I don't do the face. I fake those credits. So you might want to ask somebody who paid attention in that class.
Okay. Well, whatever you're doing is working. It's working.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
You said something motivational. We're ready, Nikki.
Oh, okay. Well, not really motivational, but somebody asked me, what's one word that you would use to define like how you made it? And it'd probably be perseverance. If you get knocked down 7 times, you get up 8. And it doesn't matter. And as long as you get back up, the devil won't win. Your haters won't win. Anybody that's against you won't win. Just persevere.
So,
yeah.
There you have it, my life warriors. It's all about perseverance. Thank you so much, Nikki.
You're welcome.
We love you. We are rooting. I will definitely be thinking about you November, Thanksgiving, all the way through December. I'll probably DM you on your IG or something just to make sure all is well, because now you have a whole group of life warriors that's going to be rooting for you and we'll be watching your growth and your development. And my life warriors, you too could definitely find purpose after your loss. Do know you're not alone. Do not suffer alone. Do know that mental illness, everyone has a little touch of it somewhere. So it is what it is. Once you have a mind and you have thoughts, it's very easy for us to fall off the bandwagon. So it's okay. Do not suffer in silence. Talk to someone, share your story, talk to someone outside of your family circle as well. You're learning, make sure that you're not sitting in a norm that's really and truly not normal. So with that being said, do know there is a coach out here that loves you.